Hello everyone, this is Mr. Storm, and today we are going to talk about CyberPatriot. What is CyberPatriot? So this is going to be the first unit in our series about CyberPatriot. If you're new to the program, this should explain pretty much everything you need to know about what CyberPatriot is. Now, I'm going to be using resources that were published by the CyberPatriot program, so we're going to go through them together. Okay, so Unit 1, Introduction to CyberPatriot and Cybersecurity. So in this lesson, we're going to learn what the competition is. We'll get an overview of the competition. We'll talk about the national finals, how teams work, scoring, timeline, and all of those things. Then we're going to talk generally about cybersecurity and what it means so that you have a good understanding going forward. So first, let's talk about the cyber defense competition. Here's a video. I'm going to put this in the Canvas course for you so you can watch this video on your own. So what is CyberPatriot? CyberPatriot is the National Youth Cyber Education Program. This encompasses cyber camps that you could do over the summer. There's an elementary school part of it, but you specifically are part of the National Youth Cyber Defense Competition, meaning you're going to be working in teams of other kids of the same roughly the same grade as you, and you're going to be working to do the work that we expect of you in CyberPatriot, which I will go into in a bit. Now, the important thing to understand is this is not hacker training. I am not going to train you on how to hack into your mom's computer or to, get into the FBI database or whatever, right? This is not hacker training. This is the exact opposite of hacker training. This is defense as opposed to offense, right? So we're going to defend from hackers. We're not going to become hackers ourselves. But this is a fun way to learn skills that are going to be very critical to your future. Not just in a tech career field. Obviously, it'd be great if you moved into cybersecurity as an adult. It's a very lucrative career field, but there are other critical skills you'll learn in this program, such as teamwork, critical thinking. You'll learn how to use computers to a pretty good degree. So all of these things are valuable for your future. So let's talk about the competition. Here's the way the competition is roughly structured. So there is one coach. That's me. I'm the coach of your CyberPatriot team. Technically, there are two coaches, myself and Major Workman. He is one of the other coaches, depending on how many teams that we can register. You can have anywhere from 2 to 6 students per team. I recommend 5 to 6. And I'll go into the reasons why in a minute, but I recommend 5 to 6 students per team. They all have to be in the same grade level. They don't necessarily have to be the same grade, but for example, you have to have a block of middle school students, block of high school students. We can't mix high school and junior high together, okay? So once we register teams, we figure out, how many teams we are going to have. Then we go into the training and competition aspect of the competition. So, training and competition. There are 10 online training modules. This is module 1, and I'm going to go over each of these in a video format, and there will be a quiz at the end for you to take just to show that you went through the modules and you understand the information. So we're going to be doing that training all the way up leading to our first actual competition. Now, the way competitions work here at Utah Military Academy is we usually meet on either a Friday or a Saturday, depending on how the schedule looks. We will come into my classroom and you will work with your team on computers that I've given you for this competition. We want to make sure that your computer is absolutely ready to go and has all the software. You can use your own computer, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And you are going to be competing asynchronously, meaning not everybody who's competing in CyberPatriot are doing the things at the same time, okay? So you're going to compete, your score is going to go to the scoring database, and then that'll help you determine if you're going to advance or not. So there are 3+ online rounds. This is usually our first round, our second round, and then we have what we call state. State is basically competing with other teams within that state. And then we have semifinals. Semifinals or regionals is what we call them. That will determine if you go to nationals. So your scoring is basically done online. It is it's non-biased. It really is determined by how many problems did you find and fix with that computer system. Okay. Now the top teams in the country and in their divisions move on to semifinals and the national finals. National finals are not an online competition. The national finals are held in the DC area. So the top teams will all get all expenses paid trips to Washington, DC, and you will compete somewhere in the DC area live against other teams. So you have the opportunity to win scholarships, network with, industry leaders, talk to politicians, talk to the media. Like, it's a really cool thing. So your goal should be to make it to nationals. So here is the team structure. So I am the coach. So that's me. We are the administrative leads of the team. My job is to make sure that you guys are safe, happy, healthy, that we follow all the rules that we're supposed to, and that you know all the information you're supposed to know in order to do well in competition. Okay, I'm the main point of contact for all things CyberPatriot related. I'm going to be the one registering teams and interfacing with the CyberPatriot headquarters to shore up any, issues when it comes to scoring any of that stuff. That is my responsibility. Then we have technical mentors. These are people that are more knowledgeable about the technical side of cybersecurity, who can come and volunteer and help out. If your parents are tech people and they want to come help, absolutely, I will totally accept their help. They can come in and help teach a unit or two. It's completely acceptable. Now, we will meet as a team during team time. So that 3:15 to 4:15 block of time on Thursdays. So it's going to be Thursday. So it's a once a week meeting. Okay. So if your parents can make it, that'd be fantastic. We also have team assistants. These are people who can volunteer to provide non-technical support. So people who want to bring snacks, people who want to just supervise during competitions. These team assistants are fantastic. I don't need to get you registered or anything. You can just come in and hang out. And then you have competitors. That's you. That's you, okay? You're the competitor. You are going to work with your team to find and fix vulnerabilities in a simulated computer system. Scoring. So teams will earn points by finding and fixing vulnerabilities within a virtual machine. So we are going to give you a special piece of software, and that software is going to have a file. We're going to give you a file. Whenever you load that file, it will make your computer turn into the simulated computer momentarily, right? So it'll basically allow you to use your computer just like you normally would, but it's going to be a simulated environment where there are issues that you can find and fix, okay? So these virtual machines are called images. This is what I'm going to refer to them as. You're going to hear this word all the time. Hey, do you have that image? Hey, do we have the image for the next competition? Hey, have you played around with the practice image, right? When we say image, we mean a simulated computer system, okay? There's also a networking quiz associated with the competition. So you're going to want to have one person at least on your team who is focused on networking for the competition. Networking quizzes are usually done through Canvas. I'll show you all about how to log in and do that. But there's also a Cisco packet tracer component of the networking quiz. So you'll have to use Cisco packet tracer, which is a network simulator, to create or troubleshoot or destroy or whatever a simulated network. Okay? Now, if you make a system less secure, meaning you do something that makes the system more vulnerable, then you will lose points. Or if you, that's pretty much it. I'll just leave it there, right? So you don't want to lose points. You can go negative in this competition if you really try hard enough. We're not going to go negative though, all right? So train and prepare. So here's how we're going to train and prepare for competition. So there are challenge rounds before the season starts, and we are going to participate in these challenge rounds as a team so that we can be aware of the kinds of issues we're going to find during competition. You're going to train as a team mainly by coming to practice and following along with these lessons, okay? You're going to participate in the scored rounds by showing up on time for competition and using your expertise to try to help your team solve all of the problems that are before them during competition. You're going to make sure you prepare your hardware and software and network stuff for the competition. That practice right before our competitions on Thursdays is going to be hugely important because you're going to need to copy your images over to the right computer and make sure those computers are working perfectly and everything is ready for competition. So to compete, you're going to extract your images using a password that I will give you on the day of competition. Then you're going to identify your team with its unique ID, which again, I will give you. And the unique ID is going to be specific to your team. Let me shrink my face here a little bit so you can see what else is on this slide. Anyway, so it's going to be specific to your team, meaning when you log in with your unique ID, no other team in the CyberPatriot competition can use that ID, all right? And if they do, if they find errors, those errors are yours. You get those points. Vice versa, if you use someone else's ID, you're giving them points instead. And you will be penalized if multiple computers are using the same ID for the same image. So you will have your unique identifier that you will enter once you load your image, and then you're going to have 6 hours to find and fix all of the issues that you can within that computer system, okay? Now, there may be some vulnerabilities that you find and fix that don't give you points. That's okay. So how to score? Basically, we want to make sure that we have the best chance for success before every competition. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the scheduled competition round challenges on the CyberPatriot website. This will tell us what images are we going to be looking at for this competition. And we're going to focus on learning how to use those operating systems as best as we possibly can. So operating systems such as Cisco, operating systems such as Linux, Windows, Server, those are operating systems we're going to be working with. But we also want to become familiar with the Cisco networking stuff so that we can get good points on those networking parts of the competition. So on the day, you're going to harden your system and defend against outside attacks by starting with hints and the scenario in the README file. So the README file is the first thing you do when you open a system or when you open up an image after you put in your unique identifier. You're going to read the README file. It's going to give you the scenario that you are in charge of completing for that day, okay? Now, again, not all vulnerabilities are scored or hinted at in the README file. You just got to do the best you can to make sure that that computer is as safe as possible, okay? So, the competition system, the CCS, CyberPatriot Competition System is an automatic, it's a piece of software that's embedded in all of the images, and it is going to track which errors you've found and fixed and which ones you haven't. There is going to be a link on your desktop that will show you your scoring report at any given time. So you can double click on that link. It'll show you how many points you've received so far and how many errors you have not found yet. A chime will play when you gain points, and a buzzer will play if you lose points, okay? There is a CyberPatriot folder in every image. Do not delete, open, modify, or do anything with that CyberPatriot folder. That's information that needs to be in there. Those files need to be protected so that your scoring system works properly. All right, so here's an example of a round of competition. So let's say we have a competition going from the 18th to the 20th of 1 month. That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of 1 month. So on the 14th, meaning the Monday before that competition, image download instructions are going to be sent to me, your coach. And then I will distribute those images on flash drives so that when you come to practice on Thursday, I give you those flash drives. Your team installs the images where they need to go. Then we will either meet on Friday or Saturday for the competition, depending on what we decide as a team, what works best for everybody's schedules. We will meet at that time. We'll have a 6-hour time block. I will tell you, all right, our time is starting now, and I will give you your unique identifiers at that point and any passwords you need to extract images. All of that will happen on the day of competition. Okay. Now notice that the competition lasts for 3 days. That is normal. I think this year they've shortened it to 2 days, but we're going to pick one of the 2 days they give us. Okay. And then we won't know results until over a week later. That's pretty typical. So when we come back to school on that Monday, don't ask like, hey, Mr. Storm, how do we do? I don't know yet. Okay. So results typically take about a week for them to organize and put out. All right. So here's the timeline. Now this is just an example timeline. I will go over the schedule for this year specifically during our practices. But this is typically how it goes. You have an exhibition round over the summer. You have an exhibition round toward the end of the summer. And then there's a training round in September. Usually the whole month of September is a training round. That we are going to participate in heavily. Then you have a sneak preview, which is usually a day or two where you get like another extra level of practice. Then there's a practice round in October. And then in November, we have our first round of competition. So we'll have a competition in November. We'll have a competition in September, or in December, sorry. November, then December. Then our state round is in January. Semifinals are in February. And if we make it to nationals, that's usually in April. Every year, the schedule is different. So we'll go over our schedule for this year during practice. So let's talk about some cybersecurity stuff. So what is cybersecurity? Essentially, cybersecurity are all the tools that we use and the actions that we take to keep computers, networks, and information safe and available for those who need it, and unavailable for the people who should not have it, right? We want to make sure that if you don't have a right to view that material, then you don't have access to it. So essentially, cybersecurity is keeping computers safe for the people who need it. So that can mean protecting hardware, data, software, all kinds of stuff. Everything that has to do with a computer, keeping that stuff safe from hackers, from just malicious users, from viruses, earthquakes, tornadoes, you know, the heat death of the universe, whatever it is. We're going to try to keep computers safe from all of those things. Zombie infestations, whatever it might be. So why is cybersecurity important? Pretty much everything relies on computers these days, right? All of our critical infrastructure systems use computers in some way. There are many examples of critical computer systems being taken over, either by ransomware attacks, or just shutting them down completely. These are important real-world things. And so we're going to play the part of the good guys trying to keep these systems from being taken out. So here are a couple of case studies. In 2006, 26.5 million veterans' personal information was compromised after a worker at the VA basically just left their laptop on, I think it was a train. They just left it on a train. They were on their way home and they just left their laptop on a train. Someone got hold of it. Their computer was unsecured, and Yeah, compromised 26.5 million veterans' personal info. 2009, Coca-Cola execs, they clicked on a spoof email, and it allowed hackers to steal $2.4 billion or confidential files, leading to a $2.4 billion business deal with Chinese. You know, that's rough for them, but bad cybersecurity. 2011, DHS. Okay, so I'm not supposed to tell you this, but this was a big initiative when I was in the Air Force. The Department of Homeland Security, they were dropping USB thumb drives and CDs outside of government buildings, military buildings, government contractor buildings. A lot of those were picked up by employees, put into the computers, their government computers, and there were viruses on there that linked back to DHS to show them, hey, this was actually accessed by a government computer. It's a good thing it was an exercise just to see how vulnerable the Department of Homeland Security was. Turns out pretty vulnerable, right? By their own employees, no less. So why is cybersecurity important? Well, everything you do is in some way influenced by cybersecurity, right? So major retail companies, everywhere you shop, all of these places use cybersecurity in some way. And if they're not using it effectively, your personal data can be affected, your personality, your identity can be stolen online. You can have all kinds of financial consequences because of it. So we want to make sure everyone is practicing good cybersecurity. The good news is, because it's such an important topic, it is one of the largest growing sectors of the job market, and it's one of the best ways for you to make over $90,000 a year. Cybersecurity jobs are better paid than other computer jobs in general, okay? And they are in demand as well. Every company needs cybersecurity experts to make sure they're not being hacked. So if you get good at this and you like it, this could lead to a really lucrative career for you. Speaking of careers, so here are a couple of the different careers you might find. You have cyber workers, basically employees that maintain day-to-day security for a company. You have cyber defenders. These are government or contracted employees that protect American networks and information from attacks. This is more of private sector stuff. Cyber sleuths, people who actually act as cyber detectives. They look for espionage or insider threats. They use forensics to go through networks and figure out what happened. And then you just have leaders in the cyber industry. There are employees that basically get paid to try to hack networks for a company to find the vulnerabilities. There are all kinds of cool jobs related to cybersecurity. So there are a lot of important resources that you may want to use going forward. The first and number one resource you're going to use is this series of videos and this Canvas course. It's going to walk you through everything you need so that you can be a good CyberPatriot defender and a good CyberPatriot member here at Utah Military Academy. But these resources are available as well. I'll put links to these resources in the Canvas page. Thanks for paying attention, and I'll see you next time.